Recently, I've been having some experiences with some devotees, and I wanted to share to see if you have similar experiences with other devotees or with yourself. Now, Prabhupada has once said, or quoted a statement, give the dog a bad name and hang it. In other words, justification for being cruel to a dog is to make up a story. Oh, the dog he bites everyone and he's poisonous, so we have to kill it, something like that. What I've been seeing recently with some devotees who are very upset about a situation and have become very critical or blasphemous are doing the same thing. And that way, they're justified in criticizing. Of course, ultimately, there's no real justification in blaspheming a devotee, in condemning a devotee, and going on the internet and exposing a devotee, especially exposing the devotee for things he didn't even do or she didn't even do. And several devotees that I've been dealing with are doing this. They're making up stories that aren't true. And I'm trying to understand, why would anybody do that? Why would someone be so angry or so much in a certain frame of consciousness that they're willing to make up stories, and worse, believe the stories that they make up? And as I thought about it, I thought, well, if you make up a story and then you believe it, that gives you justification for criticizing the devotee, because at heart, they feel hurt by this devotee and they want to get back at this devotee. And this devotee hasn't really done anything wrong. So they have to make up stories about or interpret what he did as wrong. That gives justification for them to do all kinds of things that ordinarily would be considered very bad, very wrong, not just criticism, but other things. And so they don't see that they're doing anything wrong, because now they've created a story about this other devotee, and this other devotee deserves to be treated this way. After all, they did A, B, and C, which they didn't do, which they interpreted because they needed to interpret it that way. Now, the interesting thing about these devotees in criticizing this devotee is that for years, they were with that devotee and they didn't criticize. And all of a sudden, something happened and they felt hurt by that devotee. And now because they're hurt, they want to get back. That devotee did something they didn't like. The devotee did not do anything wrong. The devotee just gave an instruction. That's all he did. He gave them an instruction they didn't like. And they took revenge on that devotee. And how they took revenge? Again, they made up stories. And then now they felt justified in condemning that devotee and publicly humiliating them and making that devotee's life as difficult as they possibly could. And so there's all this anger inside towards this devotee, which of course is righteous and justified because the devotee is so bad. So I'm only bringing this up because I just wanted to share that this does happen. And you might see this happening in the life of another devotee. And now that you understand this, maybe you already did understand it, but if you didn't and this is more clear, you might be able to help them. But also, I just wanted to bring this up just in case this might be something you do. And I think a lot of us actually do this, not in a big way, but a small way. Because when we criticize, we're seeing something wrong about that devotee, and that's a story. Not everyone is seeing something wrong. We have a story. This is wrong. Therefore, because it's wrong, I'm justified in criticizing. Now, we should not want to be justified in criticizing because we should not want to criticize another devotee. Therefore, we really shouldn't want a story about another devotee that would cause us to criticize. We would rather have a story about another devotee which would cause us to appreciate. Now you might say, but what if the devotee does something wrong or bad? Well, yes, sometimes we have to deal with that. But in the ordinary course of affairs, do we want to dwell on the negative, especially if we can't do anything about it? No. Do we want to be critical? It's not good for us. It's not good for the people around us. It's not good for anybody unless we're in a position where we can do something about it. But just to talk about it, insinuate without mentioning names and everybody knows who you're talking about, we don't want to create that atmosphere either in our own hearts or in the consciousness of our temples or the society in general. So this is just something I've noticed. I'm just sharing that you may also have a tendency to build stories around a person because perhaps you don't like that person or like what they do and how they think. My experience is that every person, in spite of what they do bad, especially devotees, has so many good qualities. And they share qualities which we don't have. So one devotee was kind of not so nice to me. I don't know how anyone could not like me. It's inconceivable. But somehow or other, some people don't. Can you imagine? So yeah, that's the material side of my consciousness, right? Of course. And so I was on the internet looking at some lectures and seeing what this devotee was doing with the intention of appreciating specifically the quality of nature that he has where I'm lacking. This devotee is very strict. He's more strict than I am. And he's a very straight shooter, and I appreciate that. And of course, he does some things that I don't think are the best. I'll just say, not the best, not horrible, but just could be better. There's things I wouldn't do, and things that if I dwell on, actually I'll get upset, and I'll tend to criticize that devotee, and I don't want to criticize him. I want to appreciate him because that's the right mood, and also because there's so much to appreciate, and it's so helpful for me because he has so many qualities that I lack, and I could benefit by thinking about him and those good qualities. So I was actually looking at his picture online because just by seeing his picture, I see that strictness there, and I need that. I need to be more strict. And so that's an example of how we can go one way with a story or go another way with a story. So obviously, we want a story that brings us up. Why would you want a story that brings you down? And we do this all the time. We create stories about what happens, stories about people that then cause us to be critical. Whereas we could create stories which cause us to appreciate. It's that simple. Just see that aspect of the devotee that's appreciable, that aspect that would inspire you, and focus on that. Rather than see what you don't like and focus on that. I know that's hard because what you don't like stands out and it's harder to see what's good, but that's our defect. And we have to admit it. So I thought I would share this. I hope this helps you in some way. I think in some little or big way, we can all relate to this. Give the dog a bad name and hang it. Tell your story, he's bad, now you're justified in criticism. Don't go there, it's not good. Hare Krishna.